Hi there, I'm Jim Fagan.
And I'm Jordan Kazee.
If you've been keeping up with real estate news lately, you've probably heard about the $418 million settlement between the National Association of Realtors and the plaintiffs in a lawsuit filed last year in Missouri.
That's exactly right, Jim. And this settlement could have a massive impact on the residential real estate industry, possibly the biggest in decades.
So what's all the fuss about? Well, a few months ago, a jury ruled in that case in favor of the plaintiffs, arguing that sellers should not be required to pay compensation to the agent representing the buyer.
That's exactly right, Jim. And historically, sellers were obligated to pay the buyer's agent's commission if they wanted their property listed in the local multiple listing service. But if this settlement goes through, that requirement will be removed.
And here's the kicker. Listing agents won't even be allowed to advertise the compensation to a buyer's agent anymore in the MLS. So it's a whole new ballgame.
Yeah, Jim, advocates for this ruling cite inflated commissions for buyer's agents and unfairness to sellers as main reasons behind the push for the change.
So we want to debunk a few myths while we're here today. First, some folks believe that sellers pay the buyer's agent so the buyer gets representation for free.
Yeah, not quite. When a purchase price is agreed upon, a portion of it's allocated for the buyer's agent's compensation. Sellers might feel that impact on their proceeds, but the buyers are still footing the bill.
Another myth is that home prices will plummet without sellers being required to pay the buyer's agent. But with the current shortage of homes for sale and forecast of decreasing mortgage rates, it's unlikely we're going to see any significant dips.
Yeah, and let's not forget about the misconception that buyers would just solely represent themselves to avoid paying a buyer's agent moving forward. While some may opt for that route, the majority recognize the value of expert guidance in such a significant transaction.
So the proposed NAR settlement, it's sparking important conversations. And if it is approved, it will bring change, but perhaps not as drastic as some fear.
We believe that most sellers will continue to offer compensation to buyer's agents, recognizing its importance in attracting potential buyers.
And ultimately, these changes underscore the value of professional guidance in real estate transactions. Just as you would seek legal or accounting advice, wise home buyers understand the importance of leveraging the expertise of a qualified real estate professional.
Yeah, Jim, and as we talk about this more in a micro sense with regard to our market here in Charlotte, how do you see this playing out locally?
Well, I think that, just as we said a minute ago, I think that specifically in Charlotte, home prices cannot go down given the current economic situation.
Yeah.
It's simply a matter of supply and demand, and we know that the demand for houses right now far outweighs the supply, right?
Yeah.
We have about 1 month of inventory of homes on the market. You generally want to have 4 to 6 months for the market to be in equilibrium, meaning the same number of buyers and sellers. Mm-hmm. And that number has stayed low. It's even stayed low despite interest rates having increased, right?
Yeah.
And so, and we're forecasted to continue to have more demand than supply for several years, assuming that nothing catastrophic happens in the economy.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And a great point. And, I'll give another counterpoint to it as well. Charlotte experienced 8% median price home growth last year, according to Case-Shiller. They just released those numbers because they lagged 3 months behind on everything. So they just released those numbers for the end of 2023. That was a year in which we saw interest rates almost triple.
Yeah.
And if that's the case in a year such as 2023, what do you think is in store in 2024?
I think we're going to see something perhaps around there. I would say at least probably 7%. And right now, the Fed is forecasting a high degree of likelihood they're going to decrease rates 3 times in 2024. Now, we don't know what those decreases will be, but let's just say each one of them is 25 basis points. Well, that is going to bring a flood of buyers into the marketplace, some of whom had hit the pause button last year as we saw rates increase, and then there's just going to be others who now want to move forward. And so, again, then our demand for housing is going to go up even more. So, I mean, it's possible that we could see prices go up, I think, as much as 15%, perhaps.
And it's important for people to understand, too, as we talk about this, when Jim says a flood of buyers coming to the market, that sounds almost like hyperbole, but it's not, because so much of the interest rates and the prices are psychological. People, just like wealth management, all these different things, there's a psychological component to it. And what we do know is that when the interest rates are being cut, psychologically people say, I need to go buy a house, if they've been sitting on the sidelines and waiting for that.
That's right. And like you, Jordan, I track very closely what's going on in the Charlotte market, specifically with new homes coming on the market, going under contract, when they sell. And as I've been looking this year, particularly in the past couple of months, the majority of homes are getting multiple offers. So then if you bring in more buyers who are presumably going to make offers on homes, then we're going to potentially have even more offers on a home. And generally, right, the more offers you get, the higher the price goes.
And thus, back to our primary point, the discussion around whether or not you need to exercise the use of representation on the buy side. And in a market such as this, where things move pretty swiftly, that expertise can never be more useful to a client.
Yeah, no question about it. The majority of buyers interview only one agent, and I would recommend to everybody that you interview more than one. I would say at least 2, probably 3, and don't just pick the person who kind of you gel with. I mean, that's important, but also look at their track record. I don't think enough sellers or buyers do that. Number one, are they working full time? If they're not, I mean, my analogy is, would you go get brain surgery from a surgeon who works part time? Probably not. And then secondly, how many transactions are they doing a year? If they're doing 2, then kind of like the brain surgeon, are they really going to be as skilled and as practiced to give you the best advice? I think you should be looking at somebody who's doing at least 12 to 20 transactions a year.
And it is remarkable how many people I hear about who have hired or do hire, and not out of a jealousy thing for me either. That's it. People should hire who they want to hire, but hire people with very limited experience. And the reason why you hire a great real estate broker to represent you on the buy or sell side is because there are times where there are some very nuanced details that need to be handled, and you want somebody with the experience and with the track record to be able to do so if those opportunities or situations, I should say, do arise.
Yeah, that's right. And yes, our team is super experienced. We're the top team we're the number 4 team in the Keller Williams Carolinas region, but it really isn't about us. There's other great realtors out there too. Yep. We're just encouraging you to go find one of those and not just settle for the first one that you meet with. But I think also, we want to just touch on probably what other impact is this proposed settlement going to have on the Charlotte market, right?
So Jim, you represent large majority of our sellers and listings. How do you think that our clients, or how will we advise clients to handle this new ruling?
Well, I think savvy listing agents are going to advise their clients to pay the buyer's agent commission. And now when we talk about pay, we just hit the myth that the seller's really not paying it, right? It's coming out of their proceeds. It's purely an accounting issue.
Yeah.
But it's going to be in the seller's best interest to have the buyer's agent commission come out of their settlement proceeds for a couple reasons. One is they're going to want to make their house as compelling of a purchase compared to other comparable houses, competing houses that may be on the market. And it's not really about the buyer's agent, it's about the buyer.
Yeah.
Is that if they don't do that, then the buyer's going to have to come up with those additional funds in addition to the purchase price, and that could make a real difference, right? Yeah. If they're also looking at another home where the buyer, where their agent's compensation is included in the sale price.
Sure.
And on top of that, and the reason this is important is kind of my second point, is that currently mortgage regulations do not allow for a buyer to essentially pay their buyer's agent in addition to the purchase price and finance that into the loan. So they would have to come out of pocket for that in addition to their closing costs and their down payment. And that's going to be problematic for some group of buyers, unfortunately.
Yeah, a lot.
And so, and there's a couple of ways, and we won't go into it, but there's a couple of ways that as a seller, you can handle that issue.
Got it. Well, that's really good. And I think that, we've covered a large majority of how this would impact consumers in today's market. And we just want to continue to bring top level knowledge and information to our clientele out there so that you're informed as much as you can possibly be to be able to make the best decision you can.
That's right. And I wrote a really detailed blog about this issue and went into this in greater detail, and it's on our website. So feel free to go to faganrealtygroup.com and you'll see blogs up there at the top. And then lastly, we just like to say thank you for watching. And if you haven't subscribed to this YouTube channel, go ahead and do that, as well as like the video and give us some comments. We'd love to hear questions or any concerns, or if you don't agree with what we've said. Leave the comments below and we will respond promptly. Thanks for watching.
Thanks.
Our seller clients. What do you think sellers are going to do?
Jim's issue.